G'day guys and gal. In life, you will hear about and see people do super badass things, whether it be donating a kidney to save a child's life or jerking off in a bar while simultaneously fighting off a dozen police officers. However, nothing in this life or the next will come close to the badassery that is Rylanor, the Unyielding. A man who has gone to hell and back and has never complained once. A man who was utterly incorruptible and spat in the face of hell when it tried to tempt him. A man who would choose death over salvation if it meant he could kick his dickhead dad in the balls. And a man whose conviction was so pure that it inspired evil men to kill themselves just to piss off Fulgrim. Now you probably already know about Rylanor's last stand. I've mentioned it in a previous video, and Stringstorm released a legendary song about it which has nearly 3 million views. Like, holy shit, man. To be fair, I think I account for like 1 million of those views, but still a solid effort. However, Rylanor's lore isn't confined to that legendary moment, which we'll definitely wank off to during this video, but there's actually more to it. His lore extends beyond that, and I reckon it's time to talk about it. Now, before the tissues come out, interpret that how you will, we need to focus. The arch enemy is on the horizon, but if we're gonna catch him before my birthday, we gotta rally. So grab your brother, grab your cat, grab your girlfriend, and slap that subscribe button. If we overtake Arch before my birthday, I'll get more real life hentai made. Today we'll go over the life and many deaths of Rylanor, highlighting his unwavering nobility and the legacy that he left behind. Let's get into it. Unlike the Emperor's children of today, who are just a bunch of coke-sniffing rapists, the pre-heresy Purple Boys were the most noble and just of all Space Marines. They saw the beauty in mankind, and they were obscenely loyal to the Emperor. They were the only legion that was allowed to bear the Imperial Aquila on their armor, and they are also allowed to call themselves the Emperor's children, as they fought and died to protect the Emperor from a seriously hectic ambush. When Fulgrim first met with the Emperor, he also fell to his knees and began crying of joy. Now you could just say that's because he's a massive pussy, but Perturabo did a similar thing, and Perty is no puss. The first of the Emperor's children were recruited from the noble families of Terra, and Rylanor was amongst this first batch of ill-fated Marines. This is why Rylanor is called the Ancient of Rights, and was always looked up to by the rest of the Emperor's children. He was one of the OGs, and he fought for the Imperium before Fulgrim was even discovered. As the Emperor's children's original gene seed was poisoned and corrupted, it was very difficult to replace their Astartes who died in battle. Numerous other Emperor's children had to be culled due to them receiving shitty gene seed, which began to slowly kill them. As such, by the time Fulgrim was found, there was barely any Emperor's children left, with Rylanor being one of the only true Day 1 OGs. Like, this dude fought side by side with the Emperor, which is a massive flex. When Fulgrim was found, Rylanor maintained his position as the keeper of the Emperor's children's history, and he was also a gigantic badass. However, the first of many fucked up things happened to Rylanor. In a battle against some Elder, he got shot up pretty bad, and he needed to be interred within a dreadnought. Now, being in a dreadnought might sound like fun, but it really isn't. You're basically a decrepit nugget, hooked up to dozens of wires and life support systems. It is dark and claustrophobic. Whilst you do get to absolutely sodomize bad guys left, right and center, this is only when you're actually in battle, and for the rest of the time you're either hibernating or awkwardly trying to fit through door frames. This didn't stop Rylanor though, as the big boy was then promoted to the Ancient of Rights and had the job of overseeing the induction ceremonies that the Emperor's children would have. This didn't stop him from always being on the front lines though, but it was nice to see he now had acquired a hobby. As we know, or maybe you don't because this is your first ever Warhammer lore video you've watched, which in that case I say welcome and say goodbye to your wallet and attention from females. Where was I? Oh yeah, as we know, the Emperor's children started to take a bit of a downturn. See, when Fulgrim and his Purple Boys attacked a Slaaneshi corrupted world and killed its inhabitants, he decided to pick up a penis-shaped sword, which had a greater demon of Slaanesh chilling in it. Why would he do that, I hear you ask? Well, the only explanation is that Fulgrim loves cocks. With his new naughty sword, Fulgrim began to change. His mood darkened and he became more jealous and sadistic. He started taking banter from his best bro Ferris really seriously, and he allowed his sons to start smashing lines. Look, if you want to hit a line with the boys here and there, sure, good for the soul, but if you're smashing lines out of a dead hooker's crack while using your other hand to jerk off with sandpaper, then that's crossing the line. Rylanor started to notice that large swathes of his battle brothers were becoming degenerates, but as Fulgrim endorsed and encouraged this behaviour, there wasn't really much he could do about it other than be a good role model. On top of that, the majority of the really fucked up shit they did was done in secret away from the rest of the less fucked up Legion, such as that time that a Remembrancer attached to the Emperor's children accidentally summoned some Slaaneshi demons and a bunch of people died. Rylanor was never invited to these extra spicy parties as he was labelled as a bit of a buzzkill. As such, when Fulgrim was convinced to turn traitor by Horus, hence was forced to cull a third of his Legion who he suspected would not join him, Rylanor was number 1 on the hit list. To do this culling, the traitors set up a mock invasion of Istvan III, and they sent in all the Space Marines that they needed to cull. The idea is that once all the Space Marines were distracted and on the field, the traitors would just nuke the shit out of them. However, this plan went to shit when Saul Tarvitz, another absolute badass Emperor's children, risked his life to fly to the planet and warn his brothers. Hence when the nukes dropped, most of the Space Marines had gotten to cover. The traitors were like, well fuck, alright, I guess we go in and do this manually. After all, they had more soldiers, they had Primarchs, and they had air superiority and firepower. What they didn't have though, was Rylanor. Time and time again, the traitors came to put down their brothers, and time again, the irradiated streets of Istvan III flowed with their blood. Ambushes, sabotage, and raids by the Loyalists left their traitorous battle brothers in disarray and death. Rylanor killed a metric fuckload of his asshole ex-comrades, and he was reported KIA multiple times, only to once again emerge to fight again. It was only after way more traitors had died than Horus would have liked to admit that the Loyalists were finally bled dry of their ammo and warriors. Their will, however, remained strong, even in the final battle. When the Loyalists were betrayed by Lucius, that dickhead, and surrounded, they fought to the bitter end. To make sure they would die, the traitors nuked them again, killing all of them except for Garviel Loken and, you guessed it, Rylanor. It seems as if the nukes were dropping, Rylanor made a decision. He would get vengeance for this betrayal, but he could not do it if he just ate a bunch of nukes, so he sprinted off into a command bunker to think about his next course of action. The corrupted Emperor's children would not cut him a break though. A squad of those deadly Noise Marines chased after him and they engaged in a fight. Using their extremely base boosted subwoofers, they were able to cut off Rylanor's leg and severely damage his body. In return, Rylanor made them all pay with their lives. When the nukes fell, Rylanor's bunker partially collapsed, trapping him in it with no chance of escape. Rylanor wasn't an idiot though, he was actually a bit of a genius. Even with his crippled form and oversized hands, he was able to perform extremely dexterous and precise tasks, such as modifying the Noise Marine's sonic guns into a beacon, whilst also arming a virus bomb. A virus bomb being more or less a world-ending nuke. After 1,000 years of isolation, he had made his beacon and his bomb. He activated the beacon and waited. On the planet of sorcerers, the beacon was detected by Magnus the Red, who hatched a little plan. He tasked 3 of his 1,000-son sorcerers, led by Vistario, to go investigate the beacon. That was literally all Magnus told them to do, and he gave no details about the nature of the beacon or even the history of the planet that the beacon was on. Hence Vistario and his homies went to have a look. They traversed the dead world, and they eventually discovered what appeared to be the corpse of Rylanor. As they approached the seemingly dead giant, which was the source of the beacon, Rylanor suddenly sprung to life and he grabbed Vistario, whilst pointing his cannon at the other 1,000 sons. That's right, a borderline dead Rylanor, who had not been repaired or recovered in over 1,000 years, was able to get the jump on 3 psychic space marines who could see into the future. What a fucking beast. Vistario began to calm the situation down by trying to show Rylanor that he and his homies weren't bad guys. After all, the 1,000 Sons weren't on Istvan III, so Rylanor didn't know if their legion was traitorous or not. After a tense chat, Rylanor still didn't trust the trio, but he didn't kill them. Vistario also figured out who Rylanor was and what planet they were on. It was all very intense. Then out of fucking nowhere, Fulgrim slides out of the shadows in his demonic rape snake form and begins having a villain monologue. See, the beacon had been specifically designed to attract Fulgrim's attention, likely engineered to only be detectable by demon Primarchs, hence why Magnus was also able to sense it. Rylanor's plan was to lure Fulgrim to him so that he could have his vengeance. Fulgrim mocked Rylanor and he tried to flex on him, but Rylanor was having none of it. Rylanor was like, "Eat my powdery shit, you decrepit cocksucker," and he unveiled that he had a virus bomb. Rylanor then detonated it with the intention of killing himself and Fulgrim, and I guess also the 1,000 Sons. Unlucky. Unfortunately for Rylanor, the 1,000 Sons were able to quickly cast a force field around the bomb, which meant that it was unable to go off properly. Time for plan B. Rylanor lashes out at Fulgrim, but Fulgrim is able to easily block the strikes and disarm Rylanor. He then pulls Rylanor's true body out of the Dreadnought and basically begins saying that he will remake him with the powers of the Warp. This obviously horrifies Rylanor, who just wants to fucking die. Vistario and his homies are watching this unfold in horror. See, the Thousand Suns and Magnus never really wanted to fall to Chaos. They were attacked by the Space Wolves and saw Chaos as their only salvation. On top of that, all the Thousand Sun sorcerers who survived the Rubric of Ahriman intact were actually pretty free of Chaos taint or control. Like, they had no mutations or evil thoughts, and they just wanted to spend their time studying shit. Hence, watching a noble Dreadnought, who was willing to give his life to avenge his unjustly killed brothers, getting violated by a piece of shit wanker demon snake, had quite a profound effect on him. They telepathically said to each other, "What do we do?" And Vistario said, "We nuke this bitch." Vistario then tells Fulgrim that Rylanor deserves better than him. Rylanor deserves better than all of us, before shooting his brother in the head, hence removing the spell that contained the virus bomb explosion. The bomb goes off and everyone is obliterated. Rylanor dies free and a true son of the Emperor. Unfortunately, due to Fulgrim's status as a demon Primarch, he can't be killed by physical weapons, even planet-ending ones. So whilst his body was torn to shreds, he slowly regenerated and eventually returned to whatever orgy he came from. However, getting outplayed and denied his prize had a huge effect on Fulgrim's ego. It was his first true defeat he had suffered since the Siege of Terra, and he still bears the shame of this on his soul. So why did Magnus send Vistario and his homies to basically die? Well, I reckon that Magnus knew it was going to happen and he wanted Fulgrim to cop a virus bomb. Perhaps the only way for that to happen was for Vistario to be present at the time, even though it seems as if Rylanor would have been able to detonate his virus bomb in Fulgrim's face anyways. Who knows? But I personally love reading about Trader Marines who aren't total pieces of shit. Like, they've been dealt a shitty hand, or they followed their Primarch out of loyalty, and now they're like, "Fuck me, this is shit. Why do we have to sacrifice virgins every Thursday?" People like pre-batshit crazy Khan, and they like Argul Tal for a reason. Everyone's favourite Traitor Legion moments are always the ones when they aren't doing evil shit. Like, people love the Night Lord's Omnibus books, which I definitely need to read, because they seem to have moments of mercy and common sense in them. Nobody's favourite part of the lore is when some word bearers are circle jerking blood onto some babies so that a demon can come Russian starfish in Ultramarine. Or maybe it is, who knows. If you enjoyed the video and you want to support the channel, then Patreon is the place to be. Where only $1 per month give you access to a boatload of Warhammer hentai. Hit the subscribe button, then hit the real subscribe button for more ancient content. Join the Discord for more memes, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.